Now, the deep state, the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, they are doing exactly what the patriots want. They have brought them down this path. Remember, before Trump, what did people say? They saw nothing. Where was deep state? Where were the corrupt politicians? They hid behind the curtain, behind others, in the shadows, in the darkness, and nobody knew what their true agenda was. Yes, what they told the people sounded incredible, sounded fantastic. It's exactly what I want to hear. But behind the curtain, far back in the darkness, what was their true agenda? Well, most of the people didn't know. Most of the people had no clue. So, to show the people their true agenda, what needed to happen? These individuals needed to be forced out. These individuals, where some of them, nobody even knew their name, needed to be pushed out of the shadows and into the light. Did anyone know the name Fauci before? No. Did anyone really know what Bill Gates was up to? No. Did anyone realize what the D's true motive was? No. Did anyone understand what Soros really wanted with this world? No. They've taken these individuals, and there's many more than this, and they forced them out from those shadows, the darkness, into the light. They wanted them to see what these people really wanted. Now, during this pandemic, during this riot/protest, they thought, and I'm talking about the deep state, those people that were in the darkness, they thought that this was their opportunity to make their move. They thought, wow, this is perfect. We can show what we want to do with vaccines. We can show everyone how we want everyone to have paperwork. We can show everyone, look, this is what we want to set up in this country. Just look at Seattle. Look at Chaz, Chop, whatever its name is. Look, we're going to get rid of the police and we're going to have rioting. We're going to have looting. We're going to have people get hurt because there are no police. We're going to have the police afraid to take food from a restaurant because they might be poisoned. We want the police to quit because there's no one backing them up. This was planned. They just trapped, and I'm talking about the Patriots, they just trapped the deep state. This is about disinformation. This is about the art of war, because we are at war. This is about winning against these individuals that hid in the darkness. It's the invisible enemy. They're no longer invisible. And what we're witnessing right now is the 16-year plan, part of it, where they're having an insurgency right now. That's what you see happening in Seattle. This might spread to other cities, but don't worry. This is exactly what Trump, the Patriots, have planned. Now, for instance, if the police officer, Chauvin, if he gets off or charges are dropped, they might push for another wave of that. And again, this needs to be seen by the people. We're looking at an insurgency right now. It is happening. There's also a counterinsurgency operation happening right now. Now, a lot of people think that a counterinsurgency operation is the military coming in and cleaning everything up. Not always. A counterinsurgency is about getting the people behind you. It's about the people. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in this report. But I want to show everyone how Trump, the Patriots, are using all of the deep state weapons against them. It's just brilliant. Now, we know that Bolton Is he a good guy or a bad guy? I never liked him. I do believe that Trump puts these individuals in place for a specific reason, because he knows what he can do with these individuals. Now, Bolton was put into position, he was fed information, and all of a sudden we had leaks. Now, do you really think Bolton was there to help with any of Trump's policies, or was he there to expose others when information was leaked to him? Finally, Trump and the Patriots got rid of Bolton. And then Bolton decided he was going to write a book. And now the media is out there because of leaked information from this book, and they are out there printing, tweeting, writing articles about this information. This is from Mediate, and this is Trump said scumbag journalists should be executed. Bolton book. Washington Examiner. Ambassador John Bolton claims at Real Donald Trump asked China's presidents to help his re-election campaign by purchasing agricultural products. This is from Seth Mandel. Xi had explained to Trump why he was basically building concentration camps in Xinjiang. According to an interpreter, Trump said that Xi should go ahead with building the camps, which Trump thought was exactly the right thing to do. Joe Scarborough, and remember Trump brought up Joe Scarborough about maybe he was involved in a murder. This is what he said. Trump asked Chinese president to help him win a re-election and told Xi he agreed that China should build concentration camps for 1 million Muslims. Now, what's very interesting, as they're all tweeting out about this, writing their articles about this, and I'm sure MSNBC, CNN, and the rest of the mainstream media, they're going to be out there reporting on this. People will be hearing it. Trump decided to sign a bill punishing Chinese officials for Uyghur internment camps. Now, this is the same time they're saying that, oh, you should build the concentration camps. Well, Trump just signed something that is completely the opposite of what they're talking about. Now, we know that Bolton had a chance to testify under oath, but he decided he didn't want to do this. He didn't want to go under oath and talk about what he knew. Why not? That's very interesting. But let's go back to post 818, because we need to understand why all this is happening. What is the mainstream media doing right now? Are they investigating the facts of this? No. Are they just taking Bolton's word for this, that he has classified information and this is what Trump said? Where did Bolton hear this? Is it firsthand? Is it secondhand? That's interesting. Remember the impeachment trial. The whistleblower heard it where? Secondhand. Was it completely wrong from the transcript? Yes, it was. So if we go back to post 818, this is February 23rd, 2018, it says, who do you think is leaking the info? Take a wild guess. Under this, it says libel laws. End of the mainstream media. And that's interesting, because they're just putting out information, and they're going to be liable because none of this is true. Please present the facts, Bolton. And the mainstream media, please present your facts. Are they going to have any facts? No. Let's go to post 993. This has post 992 in it, and it says, follow Bolton. Clean. Stage. Now, think about this for a second. While Bolton was in Trump's administration, do you think Bolton was cleaning house? Or do you think they were leaking information where he leaked to others and it allowed Trump, his administration, to clean house? Let's move on to post 3853. Q says, what happened following Bolton's departure from the White House? Was the White House clean? Well, what better way to find the leakers, to find the swamp creatures, than to have a swamp creature leak fake information to all these individuals? What happened following impeachment? Weren't there more people removed? Think about the ambassadors. Think about Vindman and the rest. How many people were removed? Tons. This is how you drain the swamp. You don't just go in there and say, you're out, you're out. You need to find those individuals. Sometimes you just can't see them by looking at what's going on because they hide their true intentions. This is why you need to use other tactics. And this is exactly what Trump and the Patriots have been doing. Now, very interestingly, Sidney Powell, she filed a scathing response to the prosecutor John Gleason's amicus brief. She's saying it's a wrap-up smear campaign. Now, we heard this before from Pelosi, where they use these wrap-up smear type of tactics. But what I find very interesting about Sidney Powell's motion is that she had a part in there, and it says, amicus is lost down the rabbit hole on the other side of the looking glass, where nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. And contrary-wise, what is, it wouldn't be. And what it wouldn't be, it would. Now that is really interesting. First, let's take the phrase looking glass. We've heard this before, haven't we? This is in post 3585. And Q gives us a Twitter link to Philosophical. And in this Twitter link, it says, dang, so that was an IP address, not a date. Now remember, Q gave us a date, which is not a date, and it says 11/11/18. 11.11.18. That's actually an IP address to the Department of Defense. It's their network. So they have 11.11.18.0 all the way up to 11.11.1859. Below this, it says Project Looking Glass. This is where you can see into the future. Going forward in order to look back. Now that's interesting. But that's not the only post with the looking glass. Post 9, October 29, 2017. Now, this fits into exactly what is happening today. This is what it says. This is October 29, 2017. Projection. D's can't lose control over the black population. At some point, the Great Awakening will occur, whereby these false local national black leaders are corrupt and paid off to help keep the black poor and in need. D's formed the Confederate States against freeing slaves. D's formed the KKK. Hillary Clinton's mentor is who? Senator Byrd. Was he not a leader of the KKK? Yes. What happened if the truth about Haiti is released? Do D's lose majority of the vote? Through the looking glass. They rely on the mainstream media to keep the narrative going, but tech is entrenching on their controls. They missed this in 2016 and desperately attempting to censor now due to the CIA cash infusions. This will fail. Then we move to post 3,367 because she mentioned something about the rabbit hole. Now remember, Q in post 9 mentioned Haiti. In this post, there's a tweet and it says, Kit Laybourne worked for MTV, Nickelodeon, Children's Television, Workshop, and Nick Jr. Geraldine Laybourne created Nickelodeon. In 96 became the president of Disney. Both are on the board of KinderCare, and both are on the Epstein flight logs. And below it, and by the way, it says hashtag child trafficking. Below this, it says, how deep is the rabbit hole? Hashtag Mad Hatter. So I do believe with all of this, these things are going to be coming up very, very soon. Actually, one of them is happening right now. And it's very interesting that Sidney Powell put this into her motion. Very interesting. And we know that the FISA is the beginning. And we know that it was up for reauthorization. And it seems that top House Republicans, they are saying, listen, we're not going to consider any type of reauthorization until John Durham, his investigation is completed. And this is being led by Jim Jordan, which I think he's absolutely right. That they should hold everything where it is until Durham, Barr, Huber, the rest are finished with their investigation. Remember, that they're not going to produce a report. They're going to produce indictments. This is a criminal investigation. This is not an investigation to create a report that we can file away later. Now, very interestingly, during Trump's impeachment trial, we had this individual who was the acting Undersecretary of Defense, Comptroller. She was Elaine McCusker. Now, she's been serving as the Pentagon's acting comptroller for about 18 months now. And during Trump's impeachment, she raised concerns about plans to suspend Pentagon funding for Ukraine. And that became the core of the impeachment case against Trump. Well, we can add her to the list because this swamp creature, she resigned. And she is no longer in this position. Another one bit the dust. Now, the deep state, remember, they're fighting for their lives. The D's are fighting for their lives. And as they're fighting for their lives, the patriots are exposing them at the same time. Now, they're going to do whatever they have to do to stay in power, but they're losing power every single day. How do we know this? Well, first of all, they're trying to start something up with North Korea once again. Remember, they started off that, he passed away, he's dead, and it turned out to be fake. Now they're saying, North Korea, they don't want to have anything to do with South Korea, and South Korea is looking to say, okay, we're done with you. This is how they're creating fake information to try to drive something in North Korea and South Korea. Now, remember, the people in North Korea and South Korea, they're going to be seeing this because the mainstream media is pushing it out there. And they're trying to make it seem like something's going on where it really isn't. It's the same thing with Kim Jong-un, where they said he was dead and there's going to be a new leader in North Korea. Didn't happen. Now, there's another way that we can see how the deep state, the mainstream media, how they are losing their grip on the American people. And remember, Trump continually says the silent majority is growing. The silent majority is strong. Well, how do we know the silent majority is large, strong? Well, when the mainstream media loses their grip, when the deep state loses their grip, they're forced out into the open. People can see their actions. And recently, we know that the mainstream media is losing their grip because NBC News, they came out and they tried to get Zero Hedge and the Federalist demonetized on Google. Now, they have a website. They use Google Ads. And NBC News, another news organization, is pointing the finger at these two news organizations. Now, the only reason you do this is because you are threatened by them because they are gaining your audience. People are looking away from the mainstream media and looking at different sources. And how do you stop them? You try to put them out of business. This has been going on for quite a while. But is this going to help them or hurt them? This is going to hurt them. Actually, it's like a perfect storm. Representative Jim Jordan tweeted this out. Google threatens to demonetize the Federalist during an election year. The Federalist employs M.Z. Hemingway, Sean Davis, Professor M.J. Cleveland, three people who helped us to get to the bottom of the Russia collusion hoax. Free speech isn't just what you agree with. He's absolutely right. And it seems that Google right now, they are undermining their legal protections by threatening to demonetize the Federalist. And this is coming from the FCC chair. Senator Josh Hawley, he just announced something where he's going to introduce new legislation to combat big tech censorship. This is what he said. Today, I'm introducing new legislation to combat big tech censorship. It gives users the right to sue if the big platforms enforce their terms unfairly or unequally. Proud to be joined by Marco Rubio, Senator Tom Cotton, Senator Braun, and others. Now, the big hit just came from the Justice Department. Now, let me read a portion of this. Section 230 was originally enacted to protect developing technology by providing that online platforms were not liable for the third-party content of their services or for the removal of such content in certain circumstances. This immunity was meant to nurture emerging internet businesses and to overrule a judicial precedent that rendered online platforms liable for all third-party content on their services if they restricted some harmful content. However, the combination of 25 years of drastic technological changes and an expansive statutory interpretation left online platforms unaccountable for a variety of harms flowing from content on their platforms with virtually unfettered discretion to censor third-party content with little transparency or accountability. The Department of Justice determined that Section 230 is ripe for reform and identified and developed 4 categories of wide-ranging recommendations, incentivizing online platforms to address illicit content, promoting open discourse and greater transparency, clarifying federal government enforcement capabilities, promoting competition. Now, they go into depth in each one of these things, but it is already started. Bill Barr is going to be rewriting Section 230, with others, of course. And this is going to put pressure on the social media platforms. Those days from 1996, those days are over, because we're seeing a lot of people where they're completely censored, where others are not. People are demonetized while others are not. And you know what their whole entire agenda is. It's to get rid of anyone that counters the mainstream media. And it looks like their time has come. Now, very interestingly, if I go back to 2018, June 17th, this is post 1522, and Anon says, about time Congress acted like it still has some power. We'll see, intelligence brands had it neutered with so-called national security. And down below it says, Google op provided undeniable proof. How do you share what you already know legally? Those who don't act now know they cannot hide the reasons why. What a wonderful day. And it seems that it is now time to go after Google, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and rewrite the laws. So this way, they have to show why you're being censored. And if you have to show why, it's going to be very, very difficult to censor you, because it's going to have to really fit into the terms of service. And they're going to have an even playing field, because if you get rid of you, you have to get rid of the other person on the other side who's doing the same exact thing. But normally, those people are left alone. Let's talk about online security. During a recent vote, the U.S. Senate has agreed to give law enforcement agencies access to web browsing history data without needing to obtain a warrant first. It is now more essential than ever to browse the web using a VPN or virtual private network. The VPN I choose is Virtual Shield because it's the fastest, easiest, and has plug-and-play 30-day free trial. Due to the recent pandemic, Virtual Shield wants to offer a 50% off all VPN plans. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is all about. You have nothing to lose. Click the link below. Now, it seems that the mainstream media and the big pharma, they are getting very nervous. Remember, Trump has Operation Warp Speed going on. And do you think he's working with other companies, or do you think this research that is being done is outside of the mainstream of pharmaceutical, vaccine, and anything else type of research? I do believe it's completely outside, and these individuals have no idea what's going on. Why? Because CNN tweeted this out. In the search to find a vaccine to put an end to the coronavirus pandemic, some scientists worry that President Trump's Operation Warp Speed is missing out on a tried and true vaccine technologies that have over and over again resulted in proven winners. Now, I wonder why Trump, the Patriots, don't want to use the proven vaccine technologies. Why do you think he's going in a completely different direction? And why are they so nervous about this? Because he's going to show something completely different. He's ready to expose all of it. Now, is he just going to come out and say, hey, by the way, they've been poisoning you. Hey, by the way, they have the cures. No, he doesn't work that way. He's going to make them feel the pain. I think he's going to eventually force them. They might say it was we stumbled upon a cure. Doesn't matter how they do it, but I think it was either they do it on their own or he forces them to do it. And I believe he's going to force them and feel the pain. And this is why CNN is tweeting this out. Let's get into some of Q's posts here. This is post 4,475. And this is 2 memes, and it says Trump 2016. It shows an iceberg, and under the iceberg, you can see the rest of the iceberg, and it looks pretty big. And it says silent majority. Trump 2020, you have the same minority on top, but below it, the iceberg is gigantic. Silent majority. Let's move on to post 4,476. Gives us post 940. And again, this is Antifa and the Nazi flag photo here. How similar they are. And Q says, old playbooks still used today. Then, verse now. Compare and contrast. Then, and this is a 4-year-old article to The Guardian, and it says, revealed how Associated Press cooperated with the Nazis. German historians show how news agency retained access in the 30s by promising not to undermine the strength of Hitler's regime. This is what Q gave us. The Associated Press news agencies entered a formal cooperation with Hitler regime in the 30s, supplying American newspapers with material directly produced and selected by the Nazi propaganda ministry. Archived material unearthed by a German historian has revealed. To that extent, it is fair to say that these pictures play their part in disguising the true character of the war led by the Germans. How did Hitler gain power? What events created population-defined extremism? The insurrection. Gave us a link to BBC.uk, and it says, Hitler into power, 1929 to 1934. Hitler was appointed chancellor in January 1933. His rise to power was the result of many factors: the impact of the Depression, the weakness of a Weimar democracy, and the strengths of the Nazi Party. Q says, global economic depression. Isn't that what we're in? Reparations. Huge rise in unemployment. Germans began to lose faith in democracy and looked to extreme parties on both the left, the communists, and the right, the Nazis, for quick and simple solutions. When people are unemployed, hungry, and desperate, as millions were in Germany between 1930 and 1933, they often turn to extreme political parties offering simple solutions to their problems. Between 1930 and 1933, support for the extreme right-wing Nazis and the extreme left-wing communists soared. Now, which means today, MSDNC, peaceful protests. MSDNC, propaganda campaign. MSDNC, information warfare campaign. MSDNC, POTUS must be removed. Pushed years 1 to now. Twitter. This is from Robbie Starbuck. Q gave us this link. It says, these disturbing tweets are sadly not a tiny fringe view on the left anymore. He just said it out loud. Many don't want to coexist, like their bumper stickers used to say. Many really believe we're less than human and think we belong in re-education camps. That's the vile truth. And this is coming from Palmer Report. It's a blue checkmark individual. It's time we acknowledge that conservatism isn't just some political view. It means you're the very bottom rung of society, dangerous and deranged. Some conservatives are trying to become better people. Great, but people who flaunt their conservatism are psychotic. People who promote their racist propaganda, hate speech on OANN, are dangerous thugs. They have no place in respectable society. Mike Gundy cannot remain the OK State head coach, the Oklahoma State head coach. Too influential of position in society. Fire him unless he agrees to get extensive psychological help. We shouldn't be cold-hearted about this, but having a conservative as a police officer, for instance, isn't much different than having a KKK member as a police officer. It's just not something that a civilized society can ever tolerate. We should rehabilitate any conservatives who are willing to try. We should pay for them to undergo therapy and retraining so they can understand the world around them. But first, we must get them out of positions of influence because they're infringing on the rights of others. Q then says COVID-19, global economic depression, D Party, BLM, race push, reparations. So we're seeing they try to crash the entire system. Now they're pushing Black Lives Matter's race push, reparations. COVID-19, huge rise in unemployment, 40 million. Insurrection, riots, city takeover, remove police, weaken the police, property destroy, assault, murder, release by de-governor mayors back to streets, safe zones, division, hostility, race war, etc. End goal, then versus now. Government control. Understanding the past helps to understand the present. So they're following the same exact playbook. There's no difference today. Post 4,477 gives us a Twitter link to Steve Scalise. Just sent letters to the Democratic governors of New York, New Jersey, California, Pennsylvania, Michigan, demanding they explain why they ignore protocols and force COVID-19 patients into nursing homes. The outcome was devastating. Families who lost loved ones deserve answers. This tragedy was avoidable. Q says, it's not what you know, but what you can prove. Question, can we prove it? I believe so. Question, can we prove coordination? I do believe so. Question, Can we prove deliberate action to include death count to justify vote by mail, stay at home, bailout state, kill economy, kill Pete rallies, include unemployment, etc.? I believe they can. And what we're watching right now is an insurgency. It's an insurrection. And Nick Fad put out a really good Twitter thread that explains what is going on. And let me just read this, and then we'll go into Q's post after this. This is what he wrote. What you're seeing isn't new and is bigger than just grievances with the police department. Taking shape is a communist-style revolution disguised as protests. We must view it from a strategical perspective so that we may understand, contain, and ultimately defeat it. An insurgency is an organized rebellion aimed at overthrowing a government through the use of subversion and violence. The objective of most insurgent groups is to control a particular area or country, which differs from that of terrorists who don't look to form an alternate government. An insurgency typically begins before it is recognized by the government in power. It is by no means an instantaneous movement. Insurgent leaders learn about local issues and then teach communities to blame those issues on a particular class and the government. Over time, this builds an anti-government sentiment that insurgents use to fuel rebellion. However, grievances alone are not enough to spark an uprising. Insurgents must find a compelling issue around an injustice it can use to create a narrative to justify its use of violence. When a narrative is linked to grievances related to a particular ethnic or religious group, it is politically and socially persuasive. Insurgencies have always been a tool for regime change and capitulation. 3 conditions must be present for an insurgency to be successful. A. Vulnerable population. The federal and local government's inability to provide security for property and its people. Insurgencies grow in areas where police are reluctant to patrol, giving the insurgents freedom to become tactically and operationally more effective. B. Leadership available for direction. A leader that can shape, mold, and direct the frustration of the population. C. Lack of government. Failures of government to provide basic services such as healthcare, justice, education, and a stable economy. Moreover, when these 3 things exist simultaneously, an insurgency can operate in the open. The use of kidnappings, extortion, assassinations, and other forms of terrorism to advance political agendas becomes common. There are 5 elements of an insurgency: leaders, guerrillas, political cadres, auxiliaries, and supporters. 1. Insurgencies are often headed by leaders who are charismatic, rank high in public esteem, and possess a relatable personality. The charisma of insurgent leaders can be more appealing than the ideology in convincing others to join. Leaders provide strategic direction and are responsible for developing the insurgency narrative to mobilize individuals into an adequate force for armed political action. Number 2, guerrillas are the forces who do the actual fighting for the insurgency. This can include unemployed youth getting paid to conduct acts of terror to the criminal gang leaders exploiting a state of lawlessness. Members can include people seeking an escape from boredom. Number 3, political cadres. These are people in positions of power that are at best sympathizers of the movement, or at worst members of the insurgency. They do not report insurgents to counter-insurgent forces, usually out of sympathy for the cause and an anti-government sentiment. Political comrades work to implement policies provided by the insurgency leader. They often continue in their regular position in society, but lead a second secret lives for the cause of the insurgency. Auxiliaries are active sympathizers who provide essential logistic support such as funding, communication, transport, supplies, weapons, early warning, house creation, spreading of propaganda. Still, they do not directly participate in combat operations. So if you look at this, as he's naming all these different things, we have Obama, we have Susan Rice, we have the mayor that was holding up Antifa, we have the mayor of Minneapolis, we have Hollywood stars, Steve Carell, Halsey, Cynthia Nixon, Seth Rogen, and the rest. He's listing and showing these pictures of each set of these. The next one, number 5, is mass base. The following of the movement, the people who mindless, repeated, and disseminate propaganda, the other elements have fed them. This is the neighbor down the street who watches mainstream media and believes the narrative. Insurgent groups can organize dozens of front organizations in such a way that seemingly independent entities are simultaneously advocating the same things. We see this with, let's see, NFL, soccer, NASCAR, different corporate businesses, the mainstream media. This is done to give the impression that the cause is the support of majority and to force widespread compliance. An effective insurgency can be waged with the support of only a few individuals, but require the inaction and compliance of a majority of the population. Shunning and shaming are used to apply pressure to individuals not participating in the insurgency. Well, we saw Dave Chappelle shame Candace Owens. As I mentioned earlier, an defining event is needed before an insurgency can begin to operate in the open and rationale the use of violence. It is my belief that this is actually the second attempt at a rebellion. The Jussie Smollett hoax may have been the first attempt at a organized uprising to pressure Trump out of office. Remember the people who came to Jussie's defense? Michelle Obama's chief of staff to Hollywood celebrities, jumping on the social media to express their outrage about racism in America? And remember Jussie Smollett? He staged the whole thing. What about Kamala Harris' anti-lynching bill that just happened to be making its way through the Senate at the same exact time? Or Booker and Harris tweeting that it was a modern-day lynching before an investigation even started. Where would the country be if Jussie got away with it? As I stated before, due to its political nature, an insurgency cannot be defeated by the military alone. A citizen element is needed to go along with the coin operation. People willing to take risks. Furthermore, the president will never directly call or tweet for his supporters. To get involved in coin operations, it would be counterproductive and display weakness, which may help rally support for the insurgency both locally and internationally. It is my belief that POTUS did make the suggestion, but nobody caught it. This is what he tweeted out. The professionally managed so-called protesters at the White House had little to do with the memory of George Floyd. They were just there to cause trouble. The Secret Service handled them easily. Tonight, I understand, is MAGA night at the White House. Judging from the recent activities, I'm reasonably confident that a counterinsurgency operation is underway. All coin operations are handled by the Joint Chief of Staff. Some may think of it as just a rally, but a coin operation is a rally display of mass support. For the government, in this case, the president, these types of visuals trigger cognitive dissonance in minds of the insurgents and their supporters, which can lay the groundwork for defection within the movement. Defections are common during an insurgency. This is also true for government officials as well as military commanders. As victory seems more probable, previously neutral elements, fearful of being trapped on the wrong side, begin to support the opposition. I'm not going to question James Mattis's motives, but I do find it interesting that his resignation came on the same day Kamala Harris and Jussie Smollett began communication to set up their hoax. We need to begin asking, what is James Mattis's role in the insurgency? It's important to view BLM Antifa as groups of the insurgency. The killing in Minneapolis provided the opportunity they needed to justify their demands. As the government begins to address the core grievances, look for the insurgency to ramp up the attacks as they always do. And that brings me back to the police officer, Derek Chauvin, or someone else, where if he gets the charges dropped, it's going to create what we saw back in 92. And this is exactly what they want. They've been trying to do it through the mainstream media with other black people getting shot, and they're trying to push this agenda. But I do believe that Trump, the Patriots, they do have a coin operation underway right now. And it's not about bringing in the military. It's not about just crushing these people, because they could do it in a second. This is about bringing America together, uniting them, and showing the deep state, showing the mainstream media, we're together on this. And I believe this is where this is headed. Let's go back to post 4,325. It says, D's, in coordination with DNF, assets have launched, as known, a full-scale insurgency attack against the people of the United States in an effort to regain power by any means necessary. All assets deployed. Current landscape coordinated and deliberate events to impact rig presidential election. War. The future of our republic is at stake. Survival as a nation. We rise or we die. We, the people. Q is letting us know that we, as a silent majority, we're going to have to come together. We're not going to see the military fly in and destroy these areas. We're not going to see the National Guard come in and destroy the other areas and get rid of these individuals. What Trump and his administration, the Patriots, are doing right now, they're leaving it up to the people. Do you want this, or don't you want this? And what we're seeing with his rallies right now, with millions of tickets being sold, it's going to put a lot of pressure on these individuals. Now, is this going to work alone? I don't believe so. If we go back to post 4,464, it says the how will be hard to understand for most. Focus on the why. The when is now. Why do we have to do this? Well, we need to get our country back. How? Well, I don't think people can really understand the how part right now, because they're believing that someone is going to come to their rescue. People are thinking, well, the military will just take care of this. No, it's the people that need to take care of this. It's the people that have to show the deep state, the mainstream media, no, we're as one. We are not going to do this anymore. That's how the people are going to show and push out the deep state, the mainstream media. Now, don't get me wrong. Once the people make their move, and I don't mean with weapons and guns, and I'm talking about a peaceful movement showing that we the people are united. Again, this is the how. Does that mean that the National Guard might not help? No, I think they will, but the people are going to need to show that we are united, that we are as one. And I believe this has already begun with the rallies, with the people coming out for support of the president. Do we need more than 1 million? Yes, I do believe we're going to have much more than 1 million. And this is going to be seen by others. And when others see it, it's going to grow. And we're going to see the how it's formed right in front of us. And this is when the people are going to speak as one voice. The patriots are in control. The deep state believes they are. They think they have this mission. But the patriots, they're pushing them a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. This is exactly where we want you. Thank you for exposing yourself. Thank you for showing America. Thank you for showing all the people. Thank you, mainstream media, for showing how fake you are, how you just run with any story without checking any facts. Thank you for showing everyone how fake, how unpatriotic, your true agenda. Keep doing it.